Something monumental has just taken place, and yet almost no one noticed. There was no dramatic explosion lighting up the sky, no mysterious sound echoing across the globe, and no visible sign marking the shift that quietly occurred. Still, somewhere deep inside your chest, you can feel it. There's a strange stillness in the air, an unfamiliar weight in the silence. The world around you looks the same, but something about it feels undeniably different. If you're sensitive, if you're tuned in, that feeling of unease isn't just your imagination. It's real. The Pleiadians have sent a message unlike any before. It's not loud, but its impact shakes the very beliefs many have held for years. Their message is clear. The 5D split isn't coming. It's already here. It's done. And if you're still here, watching this, listening, trying to make sense of what you feel, there's a reason for that. It's not a mistake. You haven't been left behind or forgotten, but something has shifted permanently. The energetic bridge between the third dimension and the fifth has closed, not forever, but in such a subtle and refined vibration that only those fully aligned with it can now pass through. Now you find yourself standing in a reality that looks unchanged on the surface, yet you can sense it's no longer the same. Maybe you've noticed strange signs. Time doesn't seem to behave the way it used to. People feel emotionally distant or oddly reactive. Your dreams have grown intense and unusually vivid, sometimes even unsettling. And through it all, your inner compass seems to be spinning in circles. You know something's shifting, but you can't quite ground yourself in it. That sensation isn't a product of your imagination. It's the subtle aftershock of a dimensional divide. The shift didn't arrive with fireworks or grand announcements. It came softly, through whispers, frequency codes, gentle nudges in the soul. It moved like a wave of quiet energy. And in those delicate currents, deep soul-level choices were made. Choices that determined who was fully ready to transition into a new frequency and who would remain, for now, within the dissolving patterns of the old earth. But this isn't the part where we label anyone as lost or left behind. That's not how this works. Remaining behind doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean you missed out or that you're not worthy of ascension. In many cases, it's the opposite. Many of you chose to stay because your soul was asked to. You're here to hold light in systems that are crumbling. You're here to guide others who are just beginning to awaken. You're here to finish soul contracts that are only now ready to be fulfilled. The split is very real, and the journey has already begun. But this isn't the end. It's the beginning of a deeper story. Before you reach the end of this message, you may begin to understand why your soul chose to stay. It was never a punishment. It's a mission, a sacred one. So, the question isn't whether the split has happened. It already has. The real question now is, what will you do next, knowing that you're still here? The silent threshold has already been crossed. It didn't arrive with thunder or chaos. There was no explosive moment announcing it to the world. The separation between dimensions happened like a soft breath in the middle of the night, quiet, gentle, and almost invisible. Yet it may be the most significant turning point in human history. While much of the world was caught up in distractions and noise, trying to find clarity in a fog of confusion, something powerful was happening just beyond the veil. The 5D shift didn't arrive in the way many imagined. It wasn't accompanied by beams of light or mass sightings in the sky. It came as a vibration, a shift in frequency so subtle that only the most attuned could feel it. For years, people have waited for this dimensional transition, expecting physical proof, visible changes, even miraculous transformations. But the universe rarely delivers its most profound moments with drama or spectacle. Instead, it moves in resonance, in rhythm, in the quiet spaces where true change takes place. It's as if a new radio station began to broadcast, but only those whose internal receivers were tuned to the right channel could hear its message. Many were looking outward, waiting for something obvious to confirm what they intuitively felt. But this transition wasn't physical. It was energetic. It moved through the collective quietly, like a whisper echoing in the background of reality. And as it moved, strange things began to happen. Time began to lose its grip. For some, minutes dragged on endlessly. For others, entire days slipped by unnoticed. Emotional waves rolled in without warning. Waves of bliss, sadness, frustration, or love, often disconnected from anything external. And night after night, the dreams came. Vivid, often surreal, and layered with symbols that felt too precise to be random. These weren't just dreams. They were messages, clearings, and recalibrations of your energetic field. Your soul was adjusting to a new frequency, preparing for a different kind of awareness. Through all of it, many have felt off-center, as if their internal compass couldn't find a true north anymore. And that's because the map has changed. The coordinates of consciousness are no longer where they used to be. So here you are, living in a world that looks familiar but feels foreign. Some around you might still be asleep to what has taken place. Others are just beginning to stir. And a few, like you, have known something was coming, even if you couldn't put it into words. Now it's here. The divide isn't a future event. It's already happened. But it happened in such a subtle, precise, and loving way that most of humanity didn't even notice. That's how higher frequencies work. They don't demand attention, they invite remembrance. If you're still here, you're not behind. You're not broken. You haven't been forgotten. You've been trusted. Trusted to walk between worlds, to hold light in the dark, to be a bridge for others as they begin to awaken. It's not an easy role. Sometimes it feels isolating. Sometimes it feels like carrying a truth no one else sees. But you are not alone in this. There are many like you, quietly doing the sacred work of holding the grid together while the rest of the world catches up. The dimensional shift is complete. And now, a new path unfolds for those still in this space. A path of deeper service, clearer purpose, and higher resonance. This is not the end. This is the threshold of something vast and beautiful. And your presence here means your soul has chosen to play a part in it. Not later, not someday. Now people found themselves speaking in familiar tones to faces they didn't recognize, yet somehow felt they had always known. It was as if they were standing between two worlds, gently pulled in both directions, one tied to the old familiar life, and the other whispering something entirely new. Most didn't realize that the earth had already shifted, not in a way that changed maps or borders, but in something far deeper, energetically. Now there are two earths sharing the same space, yet vibrating on entirely different frequencies. Like radio stations playing at the same time, both are there, but you can only hear one if you're tuned to it. This is the part that truly surprises people. The split didn't happen in some distant future. It already happened. It's complete. It's done. The road has already forked. And though there was no dramatic closure, no gate swinging shut, no celestial guide checking off names, the division happened quietly. There were no passwords, no rituals, no travel documents needed. The shift moved in accordance with vibration. It responded to resonance, not to appearances, not to declarations of awakening, not to how much spiritual jargon someone could speak. It was never about wanting to ascend. It was about the frequency someone lived and breathed in every moment of their day-to-day life. It was never about being perfect either. It was always about being real. The transition didn't hinge on conscious choice. It happened according to the energy each soul had nurtured and carried across years, or even lifetimes. There were those who believed they were ready, who spoke the language of ascension, yet remained anchored in the heaviness of the old world. And then there were others who didn't even know about the concept of rising or awakening, yet moved quietly into higher frequencies, simply because they lived humbly, honestly, and with deep presence in their hearts. The universe didn't judge anyone in this process. It simply measured vibration. It listened to the subtle music of the soul, to the quiet, ancient hum that exists beneath personality and belief. That soul song, your unique frequency, was the key. Not titles, not knowledge, not even spiritual practices, just vibration. And while people argued, fought, and distracted themselves with the noise of politics, conflict, and illusion, the real change took place. The veils lifted and the roads silently split. There was no trumpet, no announcement, but it was final. We're not waiting for the great divide to come. We're waking up to the fact that it already happened. Those still rooted in the denser energy of the old earth might feel confused. They might look around and wonder why the promised shift hasn't arrived in fireworks. They might doubt themselves, thinking they missed something or did something wrong. But for others, those who felt the moment in stillness, in silence, there's a deep inner knowing. They sensed it. They didn't see it with their eyes, but their soul recognized it. The shift already happened, and each soul was placed not by sight, but by the truth it carried within. If you're still here, still feeling the pressure and weight of a world that seems stuck in chaos while others speak of higher frequencies and new earths, it's easy to believe you've been left behind, that something went wrong, that perhaps you failed in some unseen way, but the truth is far more tender and profound. You weren't left behind. You were asked to remain. This world, as heavy and confusing as it is, still needs light. It still needs anchors, souls who can hold steady while the foundation shakes and crumbles. Many who remain here are not here by accident or failure, but by divine agreement, made long before this lifetime even began. Remaining in this space is not a punishment. It's a calling, a sacred role, a promise made on a soul level, not just to Earth, but to the entire unfolding of the great cosmic story. These agreements were made in realms beyond time, in places of deep wisdom where timelines were reviewed and energies understood with the highest clarity. Certain souls, strong, patient, rooted in deep remembrance, agreed to stay. They came to be stabilizers in the storm. As the structures of the old earth tremble and threaten to collapse, someone must hold the beam steady so others can make it through. Without these grounding souls, the fall would be chaotic, the fear overwhelming, and many would be lost in despair. You may not remember agreeing to this. You may question it every day, but your presence here is no accident. Some of you are serving as quiet bridges between dimensions, existing in the midst of the third-dimensional experience while carrying the seeds of something higher, something purer, fifth-dimensional awareness. These seeds aren't meant to be shouted from rooftops. They're meant to be planted gently, through conversations, through choices, through the quiet power of your vibration. You might notice people are drawn to you, unsure why they feel safe around you. You may not always be seen or recognized for the light you carry, but your very presence sends out signals, gentle nudges for those still in the fog, guiding them toward awakening. And some of you hold specific codes, gifts, insights, or pieces of wisdom that are meant to be activated not in light, but in darkness. These keys don't bloom in comfort. They emerge through challenge, through pressure, and at exactly the right time. This isn't a journey of ego or reward. It's not about being the most enlightened, the most knowledgeable, or the loudest in spiritual circles. It's about being in tune with your soul's truth. And sometimes that truth is quiet. Sometimes it doesn't need to convince or prove. Sometimes it just needs to be. So if you find yourself still here, still walking among shadows while others speak of ascension and light, know this: you're not lost. You're not failing. You're part of a deeply sacred mission. You're holding space. You're helping others find their way. And though it may feel heavy, and though your role may go unnoticed by many, the universe sees you, the earth feels you, and your soul remembers exactly why you're here. In the midst of everything falling apart, systems crumbling, structures dissolving, something deep within you is beginning to stir. These ancient keys within your being, your soul codes, are waking up, but they don't respond to the light and easy energies of higher realms. They awaken in the dense, the chaotic,
the turbulent. Some missions can only come online when the world begins to shake. And now, the shaking has begun. You being here right now is not some random twist of fate. It's part of something much bigger, something orchestrated with precision. The universe didn't forget you or leave you behind. It placed you with intention. Just like in a symphony, not every instrument plays at once. Some must wait in stillness, holding their note until the exact moment it's needed. That waiting isn't a delay. It's part of the design. The ones who remained in the dense energy, still holding space, still carrying weight, they're not the ones left out. They are the ones entrusted, the ones chosen to hold the frequency, to stand strong while others begin to rise, break systems, and build bridges for those still in the crossing. So if you've been feeling isolated or confused as you watch others speak of living in the new earth while you still feel the pressure and drag of the old one, know this. You are exactly where your soul intended for you to be. You're not falling behind. You are fulfilling your mission. Your position is not only meaningful, it's essential. There's been interference, cosmic, unseen, yet deeply impactful. Many souls with sincere hearts, those who longed for the light and gave their all to ascend, found their path diverted. This wasn't due to a lack of effort or alignment. It wasn't about not being ready. It was something far more hidden, something subtle, yet strong.
Behind the outer layers of this spiritual awakening, forces have been at work, quietly shifting timelines, rerouting energy, and, at times, interfering with the very light people believed they were following. These energies didn't come like thunder or storms. They crept in like shadows, embedding themselves in teachings, feelings, and even in sources that once felt trustworthy. And perhaps the most misunderstood form of this interference came from the fourth dimension itself. Unlike the density of the third dimension, the fourth isn't clearly divided into light or dark. It's more like a mirror maze, full of illusions, projections, and mixed intentions. Many messages that passed through this dimension wore the appearance of love, light, or divine guidance. They spoke of waiting for the right moment, of needing more healing, of proving your worth. These messages didn't always lie, but they often stalled rather than supported. They gently redirected souls into endless loops, causing them to question themselves and to trust guidance that no longer served. And beneath all of that lies something even deeper, energetic imprints from past lives. These aren't just vague memories. They are codes, fragments, and sometimes even implants placed during traumatic soul events, designed to activate at pivotal moments of transformation. When these imprints awaken, they don't destroy you, but they do slow you down. They cloud your inner vision. They bring doubt, distraction, and emotional heaviness that's hard to explain, like a fog hanging over the heart. These imprints aren't punishments. They're the residue of older systems of control, ones many souls have carried for lifetimes without even knowing. Adding to this complexity are energetic parasites. These are not just metaphorical ideas, but real energetic forms that feed on emotions like guilt, shame, and unspoken obligation. They often attach themselves when a soul is in pain or experiencing trauma. And once there, they whisper thoughts that don't even belong to you. They stir up feelings of being unworthy, of needing to carry someone else's pain to prove your love or strength. They make you second-guess your right to rise. And with each moment spent in guilt or self-sacrifice, their influence grows stronger, dimming your light, slowing your natural ascension codes, and making clarity harder to reach. But perhaps the most intricate form of interference isn't from a single force. It's from the loops created by artificial thought patterns. Not the AI found in machines, but something more subtle and pervasive, the collective programming of society. These loops weave themselves through media, cultural beliefs, and repetitive inner dialogues. They tell people how to think, how to dream, even how to define truth. And this isn't just by chance. It's intentional. These distortions pull people away from their intuition, urging them to question their inner knowing. It creates a maze of second-guessing where doubts replay like broken records. In this space, Energy is drained, and the clarity that once guided the soul becomes harder and harder to hear. And yet, even within all of this, within the fog, the heaviness, the delay, you are still moving, still rising, still becoming. The interference may have slowed things, but it hasn't stopped the truth of who you are or why you came. There is nothing wrong with you. You have not missed the boat. You are not too late. What you're experiencing now is the activation of a path that only a few could walk. A path of holding light in the middle of darkness. A path of being the grounding force while others soar ahead. A path of trust, not just in the universe, but in yourself, your timing, your soul, your purpose. So, if the world around you still feels like it's cracking apart, if you're feeling heavier instead of lighter, if you're questioning whether you're truly making progress, breathe. This isn't failure. This is the weight of the mission you chose. This is the unfolding of a sacred assignment that only you could fulfill. You are not here by accident. And even in moments of silence or stillness, your energy is doing more than you realize. You are holding frequency. You are anchoring light. You are being the bridge. Sometimes the most deceptive energies don't show up as darkness. They come dressed in light, speaking in soft, reassuring tones. They use spiritual language, offer just enough truth to feel trustworthy, and seem to arrive just when you're feeling most vulnerable. But their purpose isn't to guide you toward your truth. Instead, they quietly lead you off course, just a little at first, until you begin to drift away from your soul's highest path. These aren't obvious enemies. They often feel familiar, even comforting. But over time, their influence creates confusion, dependence, and a slow dimming of your inner compass. Many people follow these energies with open hearts and sincere intentions, not realizing until much later that the light they were chasing was a reflection, not the true source. But these experiences aren't punishments. They're not signs that you've failed. They're spiritual tests, refinements placed on your path, not to stop you, but to deepen your discernment. And while they may have slowed your journey or turned what should have been a clear road into a complicated maze, they were always part of the process. The truth is, not everyone who feels blocked or lost got there because they were unworthy or made mistakes. Some simply got caught in the threads of energies that didn't want to see them rise. Not because they were weak, but because they carried great power. And part of that power came with the test of divine amnesia. At the very core of your soul's journey is something many overlook. The forgetting wasn't an accident. It was by divine design. Before you ever stepped into this life, your soul agreed to forget almost everything, your mission, your gifts, your lifetimes before this one, even the reasons you came here. This forgetting wasn't a punishment or a betrayal. It was a sacred agreement. It was the very foundation of your mission. If you had remembered everything from the beginning, it would have changed the experience entirely. You wouldn't have grown in the same way. You wouldn't have needed to seek, to feel, to question. The evolution of your soul doesn't come from being handed a map or a step-by-step guide. It comes from being placed in the dark with only a faint inner spark and choosing to trust that the light is real. Not remembering forced you to feel your way forward. It asked you to tune in to the quiet whispers, to pause when things didn't make sense, to question deeply. And in that space, something greater began to awaken. Not just knowledge, but wisdom. Not something given to you, but something discovered inside you. When your memories were taken, it wasn't the end of your journey. It was the beginning of your initiation. You were never abandoned. You were being invited to a higher level of knowing. One that doesn't rely on the past or on external teachings, but on presence and awareness. The long periods of silence you experienced, those stretches where it seemed like the universe had gone quiet, weren't signs of emptiness. They were the test. Could you keep walking when the path disappeared? Could you stay true when the signs stopped showing up? That silence wasn't a lack of guidance. It was the divine asking you to trust what couldn't yet be seen. Because trust is not built when the answers are easy. It's built in the stillness, in the waiting, in those moments when everything feels uncertain, when your mind says, "I have no idea," but something deeper inside whispers, "Just keep going." Feeling lost, disoriented, or out of sync wasn't failure. It was a spiritual recalibration. It was your inner compass being realigned to true north. All those moments of confusion weren't there to punish you. They were meant to shift your guidance system from outer authority to inner knowing. You were being gently pulled away from external validation and brought back home to yourself. The path was never meant to be simple. It was never supposed to follow a straight line. It was meant to challenge you to see if you could still remember who you are in a world designed to make you forget. You didn't come here to perform a perfectly scripted role. You came here to experience the depth of becoming, to awaken through feeling, through sensing, through lived moments. That's why your intuition became your most reliable guide. When the old maps no longer worked, when teachers stepped back, when even your own thoughts seemed to contradict each other, you were being drawn inward. You were being asked to trust not what you could think through, but what you could feel. You were being called to lean into the unknown, to move with the rhythm of your soul rather than the logic of the world. That's why some days didn't make sense. That's why the answers felt delayed or unclear. That's why the unfolding of your journey felt more like spirals than straight lines. The divine wasn't withholding anything. It was teaching you how to listen without sound, how to walk without visible direction, how to believe without constant proof. This is the deeper work of awakening, not reaching for external signs, but listening to the subtle stirrings within, not relying on certainty, but building strength in mystery. You've been walking this sacred path not because you were always sure, but because even in your uncertainty, you never stopped moving. And that, more than anything else, is the mark of a soul who remembers. True mastery doesn't lie in clinging to what you've learned or trying to remember every detail. It's in trusting what you feel, in following your inner knowing even when there's no tangible proof. You didn't come into this life with all the answers. You came here to forget, so that you could remember again. But this time, it wouldn't be remembering with the mind. It would be a remembering that rises from the soul. It's the quiet resonance of truth that continues to echo within you, even after you've awakened. Many souls have found themselves feeling stuck, confused by the sensation of being held back despite a deep desire to move forward. It wasn't because they lacked spiritual awareness or pure intentions. What truly held them was far more subtle, yet powerfully present. It was the energy of old emotional wounds still vibrating beneath the surface. These unresolved emotions created a kind of energetic ripple, one that echoed through timelines and gently, but firmly, pulled the soul back into experiences it had already outgrown. These emotional echoes became magnets. They kept attracting the soul into situations that mirrored old pain, locking it into cycles that no longer served its growth. Even when the soul was ready to evolve, it was still tethered to stories from the past. This was especially true for the deeply compassionate, those who came to offer healing, those often called light workers. Their desire to help, to save, to be of service, while beautiful in intention, sometimes became a loop that trapped them. Not because helping others is wrong, but because their help often came with a heavy attachment. Many of these souls were trying to bring light while still identifying with the suffering they saw around them. The urge to rescue came from a place of deep empathy, but it was tangled with the belief that they needed to carry the pain of the world on their shoulders. Instead of being a clear channel for divine love, they found themselves emotionally entangled, believing they were responsible for healing everyone. That entanglement created resistance. It kept their energy from flowing freely and prevented them from fully stepping into their own light. Along with this came the weight of spiritual identities, roles like the healer, the awakened one, or the empath. Once offered meaning and purpose, but over time these labels started to feel restrictive. In the higher realms, identity is fluid, expansive, and ever-evolving. But in the density of lower vibrations, identity can become a kind of prison, a structure that limits rather than liberates. Many souls became attached to their roles, afraid to let go of the personas they had built. It felt safe to remain in those identities, even when the energy around them was nudging them to evolve. Adding to this complex mix was a deep longing for the earth that once was. Many souls who had seen and felt the old ways, the simpler times, the gentler energies, the closeness to nature, were grieving. That longing for what used to be acted like an anchor. It slowed their ability to merge with the energy of the new earth that is now being born. The earth itself is shifting, evolving, but some were still trying to tune into the frequency of a world that no longer exists. Their hearts yearned for a past that no longer matched the vibration they were here to embody. This created an inner struggle, a push-pull between old resonance and new potential. Perhaps the heaviest weight of all came from the collective grief they carried. It wasn't just personal sadness, it was the sorrow of the entire world. The pain of humanity, the imbalance, the visible chaos, all of it lived in their hearts. Their deep compassion became a kind of burden. Though their empathy was beautiful and sincere, it created a fog that clouded their path. It wasn't that they weren't ready to rise into higher frequencies. It was that their sorrow for the world made them move more slowly. They loved so deeply that their grief became a delay. Each of these things, the emotional wounds, the desire to rescue, the attachment to spiritual roles, the nostalgia for the past, and the grief for the collective, created a kind of resistance that kept even the most awakened souls from fully stepping into their highest timeline. Not because they lacked worth or wisdom, but because they were still resonating with energies that needed to be released. They were being asked not to try harder, but to let go, to shed the patterns, the identities, and the grief so they could rise freely and be carried by the lightness of their true frequency. Your soul's journey isn't as linear as you may think. You are not just one person having one lifetime here on Earth. You exist across multiple dimensions, simultaneously living different expressions of your soul's purpose. The version of you that is here in this 3D reality has chosen to remain for a reason. You are not here by accident. Your presence in this timeline plays a vital role in a much larger divine orchestration. You are helping to stabilize energies, not only for yourself, but for the entire cosmic structure. Your essence reaches far beyond what you see in the mirror. It stretches across dimensions into higher realms like 5D and beyond. Even if you aren't consciously aware of these other aspects of yourself, they are very much alive and active. Your 3D self is like an anchor, grounding the wisdom, energy, and experiences of your higher self into the physical world. This version of you isn't separate from the others. It's a part of a much bigger whole, contributing to the evolution of your soul and the collective. Some souls serve as energetic gatekeepers. They're stationed in denser timelines like this one, not by mistake, but by divine assignment. These souls help guide energy, ensuring the flow of light continues even in places of great challenge. If this resonates with you, it's likely because you are one of those souls. Your presence here helps hold space for the transformations that are unfolding not just on Earth, but across the multiverse. This isn't a passive existence. It's an active role in the unfolding of divine evolution. Even if you feel like you're not progressing fast enough in this reality, other versions of you in higher dimensions are already fully immersed in the 5D energies. They are moving through soul lessons, embodying wisdom, and participating in the ascension process. While it might not always feel that way in this physical life, your soul is growing in ways far beyond what you can currently perceive. There is no stagnation, only movement that may not yet be visible. Sometimes, these higher dimensional aspects of yourself reach through into this reality in subtle ways. You might experience them through dreams, where you find yourself in places that feel familiar but strange. Or through déjà vu, when something in your waking life feels like a memory from another time. These moments are not coincidences. They are glimpses, brief openings between timelines where the soul's multidimensional nature becomes briefly clear. You are not just this body, this life, or this name. You are a vast, powerful soul stretching across space and time. The version of you that is here now is fulfilling a sacred role to embody light, to ground truth, and to help shift this dense reality into a higher vibration. That service is not small. It is immense. And it is making a difference in ways you may never fully see or understand. The work you're doing by simply being present in this reality, while holding a resonance with the higher ones, is weaving together timelines and elevating consciousness itself. So if you've felt delayed, stuck, or unsure, know this: it's not because you've failed. It's because your soul is in the process of releasing old vibrations so that it can fully align with the new. You are not alone in this. Countless souls are moving through this same shedding, this same unraveling of what no longer fits. And together, you are building a new way forward, not just for yourselves, but for the entire collective. It might feel like you're stuck or going through confusion, but what's happening is much deeper than what meets the eye. You are so much more than the reflection you see in the mirror. Your soul is in a state of expansion, growing, evolving, and learning across many dimensions all at once. The version of you that exists right now is not here by accident. Everything you're going through, from the inner work you're doing to the lessons life throws your way, is part of a much larger divine design, one that stretches beyond what you can currently understand. You're not just playing a small role in this life. You're an essential part of a cosmic plan that transcends this single lifetime. Even if it doesn't feel like it yet, you're already upgrading. The process has already begun. Ascension isn't something waiting for the future. It's unfolding right now. The only thing is, it might not always feel like progress because it's not showing up instantly in your outer world. But the codes, the energetic blueprints for this transformation, have already arrived. The frequencies that support your higher potential are already present, surrounding and moving through you. However, the process of fully integrating these energies takes time. This isn't because you're behind or blocked. It's because the world around you, including your physical body, needs time to catch up and align with the new energy you're stepping into. Just because your environment doesn't yet reflect the level of consciousness you feel inside, it doesn't mean the shift isn't real or that it isn't happening. One of the reasons it can feel like nothing is changing is because ascension doesn't come all at once. It happens in phases, especially when it comes to the activation of your DNA. This kind of deep transformation needs to unfold gradually, layer by layer, so your body, mind, and energy systems can adapt to the higher vibrations. So if you've been feeling like you're in limbo or like nothing's really moving forward, it may be that you're actually in a period of integration, not stagnation. A lot of what's happening now is occurring on an energetic level that's not always visible or tangible. But these subtle changes are real, and they matter. Each phase is preparing you for the next, guiding you toward deeper attunement with higher frequencies as you move forward in your journey. There's often a delay between where your soul is and where your body is. Your soul might have already shifted into a higher dimension, but your physical self still needs time to process and adapt. That mismatch between internal evolution and external reality can create the illusion that you're stuck or waiting for something. But what's really happening is a deep inner transformation that hasn't fully manifested outwardly yet. It's not that the ascension process has paused, it's just unfolding at a pace that suits your system's ability to handle it. Everything is happening in perfect timing, even if you can't see it clearly right now. Your light body, the energetic field that exists beyond your physical form, might already be operating at a higher frequency, but your daily reality may not have caught up yet, and that's completely natural. As you continue to evolve, the outer world will begin to match the energy you're holding within. This delay isn't a problem or a sign of failure. It's just how the process works. The higher frequency your light body is holding will eventually begin to shape your external circumstances. That alignment takes time, but it is happening. Even when everything seems still, there's movement beneath the surface. This is something the Pleiadians often remind us of, that even when your world feels quiet or motionless, you are never truly still. You are always in motion, always growing, always shifting. The progress you're making doesn't always appear in ways that the mind or eyes can recognize right away. Just because you can't see it yet doesn't mean the transformation isn't happening. The silence or stillness you may feel around you right now is not a void. It's a sacred pause. It's a moment where all the learning, all the energy work, and all the inner shifts are coming together in preparation for what's next. This pause isn't empty. It's rich with unseen movement. Everything you've activated, learned, and experienced is finding its place inside you. It's becoming part of who you are. You're already upgrading, even if it doesn't feel that way on the surface. The ascension process has begun, and your energetic self has already started to align with these new, higher frequencies. But because the physical realm moves more slowly than the energetic, it takes a bit longer for your outer life to reflect the shifts that have already happened within. And even though this integration might feel like a delay, it's actually unfolding exactly as it should. Every moment is part of a divine orchestration, including the quiet ones. You are not stuck. You are not falling behind. You are not forgotten. You are in motion, even when it feels like you're standing still. Transformation doesn't always come with fanfare. It can happen in soft whispers, in the background, while you go about your day. But it's happening, and it's real. You are right on time, exactly where you need to be, moving through each phase with purpose. The journey may not always make sense, and it may not always feel like progress, but trust that everything is working in your favor. You are being guided, even when the path seems unclear. The split that once separated the old from the new has already been sealed. What comes next is the continuation of that merging, the weaving together of all you've been, all you're becoming, and all you're meant to be. The unfolding may still feel subtle, but its depth is immense, and every breath you take brings you closer to the embodiment of your higher self, anchored here, now, ready for what's ahead. The moment has finally arrived, one that marks a permanent shift. The timelines have been sealed. This isn't a passing phase, nor is it something that will swing back or change course anytime soon. Earth now vibrates on two completely different frequencies, and this shift has created two distinct versions of reality. These two Earths can no longer coexist the way they once did. They've grown incompatible, too far apart in energy and vibration to merge or align. This divide is not something temporary. It's a fixed split, and the only way it could shift again is through a monumental collapse or a deeply transformative spiritual event, one powerful enough to merge timelines or birth an entirely new one. But as things stand now, the separation is complete, and each soul will move forward on the timeline that matches its frequency. For those still attuned to the frequency of the 3D world, the journey ahead looks very different now. It's no longer about escaping or transcending through outer means. The mission has changed. It's now about being a presence of transformation, a living guide through the dense reality of the third dimension. You're not here to run from the world, but to stay grounded within it and help shift it from the inside out. You're here to lead, not through force, but by embodying the light of the new earth. As you walk this path, you naturally shine as a beacon for those who are still navigating the noise and confusion of the old systems. You're holding space not just for your own growth, but for the awakening of others who may still feel stuck or lost in the shadows of 3D life. As this energetic separation grows deeper, not everyone will be able to make the transition. Some souls may find it too overwhelming to match the frequency of this new chapter. In such cases, what may happen is the arrival of walk-ins or soul replacements, where a new soul essence steps into the body of someone who has chosen not to align with the higher vibrations. It's not something to fear, though it might seem strange at first. This too is part of the greater divine plan. These incoming soul essences continue the work where the former soul left off, helping maintain purpose and presence in the 3D realm, even if the original spirit has chosen a different direction. Meanwhile, the collective unconscious is also going through a profound unraveling. As the energetic rift between the two realities continues to deepen, Those who remain rooted in the older timeline may begin to experience a deep sense of emptiness, like a spiritual void has opened within them. There's a growing disconnection, something that will be felt even in the most hidden parts of the unconscious mind. The 3D world is no longer a comfortable fit for their soul, and yet the new world feels out of reach. This limbo, this in-between state, is part of the awakening. It stirs discomfort and confusion, yes, but also opens the door to possibility and inner transformation. Many will feel lost, ungrounded, or uncertain about who they are and where they're headed. But this phase, however uncomfortable, is a necessary part of the spiritual unfolding. If you're one of those feeling like you're stuck in the 3D world, it's important to understand that you're not trapped, you're stationed. There's a profound purpose in where you are right now. You're not being held back, you're holding ground. Your presence in this realm is essential. You're here to anchor the light, to help guide others through their darkness, not by trying to fix them, but simply by being who you are. Your energy is already rippling through the collective, even when you can't see the immediate effects. You are part of the awakening. By standing steady, by choosing to embody higher frequencies in the middle of a chaotic and changing world, you're already contributing to the shift in consciousness. This work is sacred. It's not about waiting for the world around you to evolve. It's about becoming the change yourself. You are the light emerging from within. This phase isn't about escape, avoidance, or waiting for some external miracle. It's about embodying the miracle right here in this moment and becoming the bridge between worlds. The responsibility you hold now is to be a guide for those still navigating the collapse of old paradigms. It's about staying grounded and bringing the energy of the new earth into this reality, serving as a living example of what's possible. The split between timelines is complete. There's no going back and nothing left to wait for. Now is the time to fully embrace your role as a way shower. You are here to light the path for others, to help those who are ready to step into the new frequency find their way. Your soul's work in this realm is irreplaceable. Even though the timelines have diverged and the shift has solidified, your presence remains exactly where it needs to be, right in the heart of it all, carrying the light that helps shape the future.